Hi, if you want to watch exclusive content with hot girls that you won't watch on YouTube, namely where Naruto roasts Kushina and Mikoto and many other hot girls without restrictions, then visit my Boosty channel at the link in the description.
The bright sun was high in the sky. The morning was clear and cloudless, like many early hours in Konoha. A quiet, calm, albeit crowded place. The capital of the land of fire. A village hidden in the foliage. Konoha. It seemed to all the inhabitants that nothing could disturb such an idyll. But in fact, this was only the calm before the storm. A few minutes later, an explosion was heard, and from a huge cloud of smoke appeared the most powerful of the Bijou, the nine-tailed demon fox. Known to all as the Kyubi no Yoko, or the fox that brings trouble. With its 9 tails, it destroyed houses, and even the best jonin of the village could not withstand the attacks of the Kyubi. A general evacuation of children and those who were unable to fight began. Ninja gathered together to protect their village. Only one person could stop the Kyubi. He sacrificed his life to seal the fox and a newborn child. In his own daughter. This ninja was called the 4th Hokage. "So you recognized me," the man whispered softly. The Nine Tails, without thinking, launched the Bijou ball at the Hokage. A few seconds before the ball collided, Minato used a spacetime technique, and the ball moved outside of Konoha. Summoning Gamabunta, he moved several kilometers. "Kushina, it's my time, say something if you want," Minato said with a hoarse voice and a smile. "Yes. Naruto, don't rush when you eat. Eat well and grow strong, don't go to bed late, take a bath every day, stay warm. Make friends, you don't need many, a couple of reliable ones you trust is enough. Most importantly, avoid the 3 vices of a shinobi. As for men, I hope you find a worthy, loving husband. The main thing is don't fall in love with a bad guy. Find someone like your dad. And most importantly, beware of Jiraiya-sensei. I love you. Minato, I'm sorry, I stole all your time." "Nothing. Naruto, I want to tell you, listen to your chatty mother." Smiling at his daughter for the last time, the man began to fold the seal. The seal of the 8 trigrams. The orange chakra, after a moment, began to be absorbed into the body of the baby lying on the ceiling altar. "Goodbye, Naruto." Having said goodbye to her daughter, Kushina fell to the ground, exhausted, and followed Minato into another world. The barrier holding the fox back disappeared and several people ran up to the girl. "Hokage-sama, there is a child here." The ANBU captain shouted. "Well, hello, Naruto," the man said, smiling. "What do you order?" asked the ANBU wearing a cat mask standing nearby. "Take the child to the hospital." "Yes." The ninja left with the child in his arms. A few days later. Hokage's office. "What are we going to do with the boy?" one of the elders asked in a menacing tone. "There is one, but Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki had a daughter. How is this even possible? All the tests showed that it would be a boy." One of the elders began to be indignant. "I don't know," Hiruzen shook his head. "But it's even to our advantage, everyone will be looking for a male Jinchuriki, and no one will think to look for him among the Kunoichi." "Hiruzen, you're delirious," Danzo shouted, clearly not happy with this decision. "And I agree with this decision," Koharu answered in an indifferent tone. "It will be hard to find something that is so well hidden. A girl playing the role of a boy. That will help us a lot," the third chuckled. "Who agrees? Raise your hands." All the elders in the office agreed. Only Danzo, snorting in displeasure, rejected the proposal. Equals 2. First meeting equals. Exactly 6 years had passed since the attack of the 9-tailed demon fox. A little girl was running down the street, laughing happily. Her long, wheat-colored hair, reaching her shoulder blades, was tied into 2 high ponytails. And her bangs fell askew over her eyes. The blonde was dressed in an orange sarafan and ordinary white sandals. The girl ran quickly through the crowd of people, casting angry glances at her and snorting contemptuously. The blonde was hurrying to one of the training grounds. Not noticing the man on the way, the girl collided with him. He lost his footing and fell to the ground along with the young kunoichi. The man who was touched by the little Jinchuriki was Sasuke Uchiha, the last survivor of his clan. Once the strongest clan in Konoha. He himself was a brunette with pale skin and short blue-black hair, with a duck-style hairstyle. The boy was dressed in a blue t-shirt with a high collar and white shorts that reached his knees. Onyx eyes discontentedly rose higher, and their gaze came across large blue eyes of a sea shade. Having looked into them, the boy began to drown. These eyes were drawing him in with their depth. But when he realized that he had been staring at the girl for more than a minute, he simply took and threw the blonde off himself. "Watch where you're going," Sasuke muttered, his dark eyes flashing with displeasure. "Sorry," Naruto lowered her head, realizing her guilt. "Clumsy, at least watch your step." "I apologized, Tebeo," the blonde exclaimed and, with her head held high, retreated from the scene of the crime. "Insufferable girl," Uchiha muttered, shook himself off and moved on. "Unbearable, but so beautiful, and what eyes she has." "Exo, what am I talking about?" No matter how hard the black-eyed man tried, he still couldn't get the image of that blonde out of his head, who almost fell on his head today. Meanwhile, Naruto was sitting quietly in the clearing in the lotus position and meditating. "Damn Uchiha, I apologized." Tebane, and he's still the same, having cursed. Uzumaki had already burned Sasuke with a katon, torn him to pieces with a futon. What hadn't she done with him in her imagination during her hour of meditation? Although what meditation? The blonde would soon go and tear up trees, so how should one assume the lotus position if a person met with an arrogant Uchiha? Meditation only somehow stopped the girl, doing everything possible to ensure that half of the forest survived. Half an hour later, the blonde was getting ready to go home. But as soon as she did, an ANBU fighter landed next to her a few steps away from home. The girl didn't even bat an eyelid. She had already gotten used to such sudden appearances of ANBU Special Forces fighters, who reported only to the Hokage, his personal guard. She knew that the old man always sent someone from this unit for her. Because of the frequent attacks on the girl, Sarutobi no longer sent ordinary shinobi for Naruto. "Naruto Uzumaki, Hokage-sama is calling for you." The ANBU in the dog mask informed the girl and extended his hand to her. Uzumaki knew that he would not harm her. He was always kind to her. He helped her. And sometimes he even trained the girl with Hiruzen's permission. Taking hold of the dog's hand, the blonde disappeared from sight along with the shinobi. They appeared already in the third Hokage's office. "Hello, Naruto." The old man smiled. "Hello, old man," the girl answered, adjusting her dress and smiling. "3. Feelings hidden deep in the soul Appearing in Hiruzen's office, the ANBU Special Forces fighter let go of the girl's small hand. Naruto looked at the man in the dog mask with regret. The girl had never felt the warmth of a loved one. But for some reason this fighter became her family. He always treated the girl like his own daughter or like a little sister. He had no family, and because of the mask, the blonde could not tell how old he was. Uzumaki Naruto was always just a small and defenseless blonde baby. She always lacked mother's warmth and father's punishments. Let her be naughty, and her father scolded her for it, and her mother always told her bedtime stories and kissed her forehead before going to sleep. Let her parents take her to the academy, and after classes pick her up, and the whole friendly family would have dinner at a huge table and listen to her stories about the past day. Uzumaki Jr. would like her parents to be proud of her. But that's not the main thing. The main thing is that they at least exist. "Sit down, Naruto," the third pointed to a chair next to his desk. The girl slowly walked up to the chair and sat down. The ANBU in the dog mask stood silently behind Uzumaki and watched her closely. His attentive gaze studied the girl closely, as if trying to find out something about her. Noticing someone else's gaze, Naruto turned around and looked at the man. Noticing this, he quickly turned away. There was a knock behind Sarutobi. Turning around, the man saw a bird with an important message at the window. Opening it, he let the messenger in and took the bundle with the message from its paws. He quickly ran his eyes over the contents of the sheet of paper and shuddered imperceptibly. Then he turned his worried gaze to the man in the mask. Dog, I urgently need to go to the decryption department. Follow Naruto, the old man said in a stern voice. Yes, Hokage-sama, the man answered, nodding his head. Hey, old man, where are you going? The little girl cried out indignantly. What about me? Having asked this, the blonde turned away, comically pouting her plump childish lips. I need to go out urgently. Naruto, sit here and don't go anywhere. The Hokage said in a commanding tone. Muttering something like, where would I go, she turned away from the village ruler. After listening to all the girls' indignant speeches, Sarutobi hurried out. A tense silence hung in the office. Everyone here was lost in their own thoughts. The girl plunged into deep mental contemplation, and in her mind, as if in the palm of her hand, the experiences that had tormented her throughout her conscious life surfaced. Questions appeared in her head one after another. Why? For what? What was the reason for such a negative attitude towards her on the part of the villagers? Why were they humiliating her, calling her names, considering her bad? After all, she had done nothing wrong. Her life could not be called happy. Quite the opposite. She was unhappy, deeply unhappy. A small child, a tiny 6-year-old girl, was faced with completely unchildlike problems. And she had to cope with all this alone, without anyone's help. Naruto was left without parents very early and never knew motherly affection or attention. In this regard, she was not like other children. The absence of parents greatly affected her upbringing and behavior, and therefore she was different from everyone else. As usual, a person who is not like the others has little chance of being treated well. In the situation with Naruto, this was confirmed. She began to feel like a useless outcast. She, a 6-year-old girl, still a child, was beaten, showered with all sorts of insults for literally nothing. There were a few people in Naruto's life who adored this little prankster with all their hearts: Kakashi Hatake, a fighter of the ANBU division, the third Hokage, Old Man Tochi, and his daughter Ayam from Ichiraku. She was a bright sun for them in the impenetrable darkness of the already difficult life of a shinobi. Despite all the pranks, they sincerely did not understand how it was possible to hate this spontaneous, sweet child. How could you not love her? You only had to look into her bottomless eyes, filled with pure and clear azure, and at this sincere smile, and you could understand what this girl really was. Strong, strong-willed, bright, unusual. She is always different. But at the same time, unsolved secrets were hidden in her soul. And there is no person who could see the true essence of this baby. Blonde hair, shimmering with the light of the sun, blue eyes, with splashing jade lakes, and a bright orange dress, emphasizing her individuality. Well, how could she not be a ray of sunshine? Warm, gentle, affectionate, and, of course, first of all, warming the people around her. Such a cutie should not be hated. Because she is a real miracle. A sweet blonde miracle. The blonde was brought out of her thoughts by the voice of a man standing next to her. Naruto, Naruto. He gently tugged the girl by the shoulder. Naruto, can you hear me? Huh? What? The girl turned her thoughtful gaze to the dog. I'm actually trying to get through to you here. I'm sorry, dog-san, the blue-eyed girl answered, making her eyes as pitiful as possible. The girl got used to addressing people around her with respect, although it usually didn't help her, but the habit remained. She always tried to be friendly to everyone. Even despite this, everyone hated her and incinerated her with withering glances, but she always smiled at everyone. And she never wished them harm. She believed. She believed in a better future. That someday she would be respected and loved like her idol, the great hero of the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze. Yes, it will be. In the future, in the distant future. This restless girl always dreamed of becoming Hokage. The first female Hokage, and she is sure that she will achieve it and be great. And now she is just a capricious blonde with a particularly difficult character. But at the same time very smart and beautiful. Will you come to training today? The questioning look of dark eyes moved to the girl. Of course, Databane. The beauty answered with some enthusiasm. Then I'll be waiting for you at 12 o'clock at training ground number 3. Aha. underscore 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 underscore. Please leave comments and ratings. I will wait for your opinion, dear readers, about this chapter. Equals 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 4. The day we met equals 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 equals. It was slowly approaching noon. The Hokage had been out of the office for 2 hours. Naruto was bored and decided to imagine what the guy in the umbu mask standing next to him looked like. The girl had known him for a long time but had never seen his face. Despite this, she considered him her family. After all, he was the only one who didn't throw angry glances at her. Perhaps she wanted to think so, but she still knew she was right. In any case, she cared about who he was, why he talked to her, why he helped her, and why he cared about her. No matter how much Uzumaki asked herself this question, she could never find an answer to it. Here is a seemingly ordinary umbu fighter. An unremarkable man with a shock of silver hair, a slender build, strong arms and a dog mask on his face. Uzumaki was a very hardworking girl and always respected her elders. Therefore, she was somehow ashamed to just go and ask to show his face. And he probably wouldn't have shown it, after all, an umbu fighter is not supposed to. She always called him Dog-san, despite the fact that he allowed her to call him without the prefix. But the blonde miracle did not agree to this agreement and continued to add the stupid, in his opinion, prefix san. In her imagination, when Naruto called him that, he grimaced and smiled at the same time under his porcelain mask. Some will say that this is impossible, but he is a fighter of an elite ninja squad, and they can do anything, in her opinion. But in reality, everything was exactly as she thought and imagined. He grimaced when he heard this prefix, but then again stretched his lips into a blissful smile when, nevertheless, she decided to remove this prefix. The man always treated her as his own daughter. He always protected her, guarded her from all misfortunes and villagers. He took care of her. The girl's allowance, as an orphan, was meager, sometimes not even enough for food. Therefore, Uzumaki usually ate instant ramen or ichiraku snacks. Ramen was the blonde's favorite dish. He realized this when he watched her from a nearby tree, located opposite her window in the apartment. Only one person in his life could consume ramen at such a speed. His sensei. Minato Namikaze's fourth Hokage of the village hidden in the leaves. How she looked like him. Of course, she was his daughter. The only one and always so sad. After the death of his teacher, Kakashi tried to adopt the girl, but he was never given permission, based on the fact that the Jinchuriki should always be alone. He is the tool of the village. So he was then told by Danzo, the head of the Rudambu. This old man tried to get the younger Uzumaki into his root. And then, having subjugated her, seized power. But if Hatake was given the baby, then he ensured that Naruto did not get into the root. That day, the Hokage made Naruto an orphan, not knowing her parents and roots. Now she was considered a demon. They tried to beat her when Uzumaki was moved to a separate one-room apartment at the age of 3. But Hatake swore to himself and to Rin and Obito, who died in the Third World War, as well as to Minato-sensei and his wife Kushina-san at the memorial to the fallen warriors, that he would take care of their daughter, even if secretly, but would always be there to help. It was not so easy to do, there were too many missions. And then he was promoted to umbu fighter. When the little girl turned 4, Kakashi assigned her as a guard. Sarutobi began to notice abrasions and bruises on the girl's body too often. Her father's student did his job perfectly, while also taking care of the girl herself. After several weeks of watching the sensei's daughter, he got tired of her eating only ramen. One such day, when the girl was about to brew her beloved ramen again, the man could not resist and rushed to the store. Having bought all sorts of healthy food and goodies, in his case it was dango, he decided to leave the purchases near the door, having knocked first. After which he returned to his post to watch what she would do. At first, she did not understand what was happening and where it was coming from. But having finally made up her mind, she brought it into the house and looked inside. Seeing food inside, and not some kind of explosive seal, she looked around again. She did not know who could have left it. Not finding anyone with her eyes, she again returned to her unexpected problem. Hunger made itself known. Her stomach growled unpleasantly, reminding her of itself. There was nothing to do. Grabbing a green apple from the bag, the girl brought it to her lips, but at the last moment threw it out the window. Grabbing the bag with the contents, she also sent it flying out the window. Sitting down at the table, she began to devour the noodles. After this whole picture, a heavy sigh followed from Hataki. And what did he expect, actually? That the girl would pounce on the food just like that. Of course, he knew that she wouldn't just eat it, but not to such an extent. The purchases cost Kakashi a pretty penny. Oh well, he still didn't feel sorry for his sensei's daughter. He had gotten into trouble many times during missions, so he owed Namikaze his health and his own life long ago. The Umbu did not retreat from his goal. Trying to feed the girl, he brought her food to her door every time. Each time the same thing happened. Everything flew out the window. But one fine day, the blonde did not find that ill-fated package near her door. And the noodles ran out. It was impossible to leave the house, because today was the day of the Ninetales attack on Konoha. Going outside was equivalent to death. But it didn't matter, he would starve, and not for the first time. All the cheerful mood quickly disappeared. A few minutes later, there was a knock on her door. The girl was scared. Who could come to her, and on such a good day, as they say? Overcoming herself, she went to the door and opened it. Her surprise knew no bounds when she saw a masked ANBU fighter on her threshold with the very package she was waiting for. He slipped past the girl and headed to the kitchen. The girl, without taking her eyes off him, sat down on a chair. But the surprise did not end there. "Eat," the man said in a soft voice and placed the plate in front of the mistress of the house. The girl glanced suspiciously at the man, but seeing no emotion in his gaze, she began to eat. What difference did it make? Let him poison her, beat her, anything, as long as she didn't have to live in this world. Why did she need such a life, where no one loved her, everyone hated her, and she didn't even know her parents? Let him, now she didn't care. It was strange somehow, the food was normal, and it smelled good, and after all, it was very tasty. Putting the plate away from herself, the Kyubi Jinchuriki buried her face in her hand. Why? Uzumaki asked, raising her head. Naruko, the man put his hand on the girl's head. I know that you are not what everyone thinks of you, you are not a nine-tailed, you are Uzumaki Naruko, an ordinary girl from the village hidden in the leaves. Why? 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 The girl's voice began to break due to uninvited tears. Hataki's soul felt somehow bad. He felt sorry for her. Why did it all happen like this? Why did Minato-sensei leave this miracle alone to be torn apart by the village? And yet his teacher thought that his daughter would be loved and respected as the person who saved Konoha. And instead of this, daily beatings and meager orphan benefits. Naruko, don't cry, the man had never interacted with children before. Kakashi had no choice but to hug the crying little girl. The blonde continued to sob, her face buried in the man's stomach, but her sobs were no longer audible. He stroked her blonde hair and squatted down. Naruko, you are strong, I believe in you. The ash-haired man said, wiping away the tears from the corners of his eyes. Thank you, dog-san. The blonde hugged the stunned Umbu around the neck. He had seen everything in his life, and he had been called by different names, Copy Ninja Kakashi, Sharingan, Kakashi or Captain, it was just dog. But dog-san, for the first time. Hugging the little girl, he buried his face in her small shoulder. Now he was completely sure that the life of this sunny girl would change forever. Since then, Kakashi, or as Naruko called him, Dog-san, visited the girl every day. She was not afraid of him, she knew that he would not hurt her. Hataki came and cooked for her, of course, Uzumaki was ashamed, so she asked him to teach her how to cook. Having taught her the basics, he bought her a cookbook. With the income she received from the Hokage, she could not afford this. She was against it in every way, but the man was cunning and gave her the book as a birthday present. 5th birthday. The girl grew up and a year later Hatake asked permission to train Uzumaki. The Hokage was not against it. He believed that the sooner Naruto tamed her bijou, the better. And becoming a shinobi and training would be the beginning of this goal. On this day, all of Konoha could hear a child's ringing voice and a loud hooray. The blonde was incredibly happy, but only until the first lap of the training ground. The training was brutal, but Naruto did not give up and trained every day. After that, she set a goal for herself: no matter what, she would become strong and everyone would definitely recognize her. The whole village. And those who always laughed at her. Kakashi-sensei, as the girl now called him, would be proud of her. Recently, Uzumaki finally learned to call Kakashi-sensei. Hatake was certainly happy about this. Naruto learned to cook from the book that her sensei gave her, and now he only brought food, and she cooked for him. She was only 6 years old, but in his life the ash-haired man had never eaten anything tastier than this girl's food. Now the blonde looked more like a sweet girl than an obnoxious boy. She started wearing dresses, grew her hair and wore white sandals that Kurenai gave her. Yuhi and Hatake also trained the blonde. She simply could not refuse under the gaze of cute blue eyes. It was Kurenai-sensei who persuaded Naruto not to cut her hair. By the time she entered the academy, Naruto knew how to use genjutsu at the level of a jonin and had knowledge of the basic abilities of a shinobi. At the academy, the girl absorbed all the information like a sponge. She remembered absolutely everything. She became one of the average students. There was no point in standing out. She became friends with Hinata and Shikamaru, as well as Sasuke Uchiha. Because of this, she also made enemies in the form of Sakura Haruno and Ino Yamanaka. This is how Naruto Uzumaki's life continued at the Shinobi Academy. Daily training with Kakashi-sensei, ninjutsu and genjutsu, Kurenai-sensei, mainly genjutsu, sometimes Might Guy joined these trainings. With him, they usually trained taijutsu. =========================================================================================================================Newbie. 4 years later. Shinobi Academy. A black-haired boy of about 10 years old sat at one of the desks. His dark hair was slightly disheveled, and his clothes gave him away as the heir of the Uchiha clan. Many girls had already crowded around him. There were some his age and older. But Sasuke was far from worried about that right now. Ignoring all the loving sighs, the brunette wondered where his girlfriend Naruto was now. A few days ago, Uzumaki disappeared. No one knows where she is now or what happened to her. And who needs it anyway? The blonde was always hated by everyone, considering her a monster. Despite this, some still liked her. Because of her appearance. For her 10 years, the girl was unusually beautiful. Tall, with long hair that shimmered with gold, and a charming smile. Naruto was one of the most beautiful kunoichi. Academies. Uzumaki always came to the academy in a blue satin dress, white sandals, and 2 large snow-white tails tied with orange bows. This dress was a gift from Kurenai. Despite all the excuses, Yuhi was still able to give it to her student. The woman herself did not have children, and therefore Naruto was always like a daughter to her. Sasuke Uchiha was considered the last survivor of his clan and probably the only best friend of this wayward girl. There was also his older brother Uchiha Itachi, but the guy left 4 years ago on a mission and never returned. He was declared killed in action. No one knew the real information, not even the Hokage and the elders. Many did not like the connection between these two. The elders could not allow the Nine-Tailed to obey the heir of the Uchiha clan. Although, what could these old people know? Sasuke and Naruto were best friends since the beginning of their studies at the academy. They always supported each other and helped each other. Despite all their stupid arguments, the bonds of their friendship could not be broken. For the younger Uchiha, Naruto was like a life preserver for a drowning man. A small ray of light in his life, illuminating the path to the future. One day, Naruto made Sasuke promise that he would not seek revenge on the one who had slaughtered his clan. That he would take the right path and never stray from it again. On that memorable day, Sasuke swore with everything he had left that he would keep the promise he had made to his best friend, no matter what. From that day on, there was no more Uchiha Sasuke the Avenger. The boys spent all their free time either training or at Ichiraka Ramen. Naruto still got Sasuke used to her favorite food. But most of all, Uchiha liked Uzumaki's cooking. At 10 years old, the girl cooked simply superbly. After the blonde's disappearance, Naruto's friends, and Sasuke himself, were as if they had been dropped into water. They dared to take away their beloved son, and whoever it was, they would take revenge on him and return Uzumaki back. Even the death of the entire clan, and in particular his parents, Sasuke did not experience as much as the loss of Uzumaki. Maybe because Naruto had been his support and help throughout these 2 years, or his soulmate. The boy himself did not know what it was. But he always trusted his friend and respected her. Sasuke would be able to find her. No, he simply had to, because he could not do it without her. The sound of the door opening distracted the boy from his thoughts. The academy teacher, Yumino Irika, entered the office. "So, today we got a new guy. Please treat him well. Come in." A few seconds later, something orange flew into the office. "Then write your name on the board." Yumino handed the chalk to the boy. The name was written in large letters on the board. "My name is Tadashi Yataru." The boy returned the chalk to the teacher and bowed his head. His golden strands of hair were falling into his eyes, and his bright blue eyes were shining like heaven. All the girls in the class gasped involuntarily. This caused a smug smile to appear on Tadashi's face. It seemed that Uchiha now had a rival. Sasuke himself was only glad that finally so much attention would not be paid to him. "Tadashi moved to us from the snow country. He used to study at the academy too, and then moved to us. Now, where should I seat you?" Irika looked around the class. "Sit next to Sasuke." He pointed towards the Uchiha. Everyone in the class choked on air. No one in their memory had ever sat next to the Uchiha, except for the unbearable Uzumaki. Okay, sitting down next to Uchiha, the guy began to listen to the teacher. Tadashi himself was dressed in green shinobi pants, a white t-shirt, and an orange jacket with white inserts thrown over it. And a pendant with the yin-yang balance symbol hung around his neck. Sasuke's POV. I sat there as usual, remembering all those days I spent with Naruto. Where did she go? Did she get into something again, the fool? Those girls were crowded around my desk again. God, how can they not understand that I don't need them? They are annoying. Usually, when Naruto sat next to me, none of them came within a kilometer of us. I haven't seen her for several days. This is all somehow strange. I need to check again, maybe she is sitting at home. I was brought out of my thoughts by the creaking of the door. As always, Irika-sensei came. He says something about the new guy, after which an orange whirlwind flies into the classroom. At first I thought it was Uzumaki, but seeing a drop of silver hair, I suddenly froze. Suppressing the urge to run out of the classroom and go look for my friend, I began to listen to the words of the teacher and this boy. Tadashi Yataru. Who are you, and where is Uzumaki? This is very strange. I heard his clan was destroyed a couple of years ago. So he is also an orphan, like us. Hello, I'm Tadashi Yataru. The guy extended his hand to the younger Uchiha. Sasuke Uchiha, the brunette replied, shaking his hand. =========================================================================================================================A village on the border of the land of fire. Warm rays of bright sun penetrated through transparent lilac curtains. In a small room on a futon lay a young man. His eyes were covered by thick, impenetrable fabric, and black hair was scattered on a small pillow. His pale face did not express any emotions. On his right hand there was a scar in the form of a small lightning. Near the bed stood an 4. The boy looked no more than 17 years old. His soft features and pale skin gave him the appearance of an aristocrat. His thin, long fingers weakly clutched the white sheet. It was clear from his face that this man had not had the easiest fate. Time dragged on slowly. The students no longer listened to the teacher's boring speeches. Sakura and Ino chatted about women's things and how cute Sasuke was. Choji was finishing another bag of chips, and next to him, Shikamaru was snoring, his head on the desk. Shino was doodling in a notebook. Kiba was playing with Akamaru. Naruto never showed up at the academy. And who cared about Uzumaki? She was either hated or considered weak and not taken seriously. Some even secretly dreamed that the Nine-Tailed would not become a ninja. But many didn't know what this girl was like. She was much better than the others. Stronger not only physically, but also mentally. The lessons didn't bother her much, because she already knew most of them and could easily compete with Shikamaru in terms of IQ. Sasuke was gloomy as always. Several months had passed since his best friend had disappeared. Despite this, he had not managed to find out where she was. It was as if everyone was deliberately hiding the truth. Sasuke was almost tearing his hair out from such injustice. It seemed that the truth would soon be revealed, but he still missed some details, and even this new guy. Why he appeared after Uzumaki disappeared, and how he could be connected to her, the brunette did not know. But he vowed to find out. Tadashi was too similar to Naruto. Not in appearance, of course, but in his restlessness and endless optimism. Sasuke could swear that he heard the blonde's favorite Databeo a couple of times, which seemed very strange to him. Because of this, more and more suspicions fell on Yataru every day. Sasuke found out that when Tadashi was 4 years old, his entire clan was exterminated by order of the ruler of the Land of Snow. He didn't know what they had done, but he was sure that this clan had not been exterminated for no reason. The Yataru clan wasn't that ancient. It consisted of about 150 people. It was famous for its summoning techniques. Even the Uchiha clan was inferior to them in training. Not to say that by much, but still. He and his grandmother Hoshi survived that massacre. These two guys were similar in some ways. For example, both had no family, and each felt the pain of loss. At first, Sasuke didn't like the guy, but then he even mentally thanked him for the fact that all the girls in the class switched to him. Today after school, Uchiha decided to visit Uzumaki's apartment in the hope that she was just sitting at home and not going out. Looking towards Yataru, he saw him drawing some symbol in his notebook. Imperceptibly moving closer, Sasuke saw the symbol of the Uzumaki clan on the sheet of paper. Next to it there was another one. It resembled a complex seal. The lesson slowly came to an end. The clock time passed noon. Having collected his things, the brunette turned towards Yataru. He was surrounded by a bunch of fangirls. Tadashi, trying to get home, began to make his way through the crowd. Tadashi's POV. Today was boring. Why do I need this if I already know everything? Granny sent me to the academy again. Well, I'll get even with her. The last lesson was coming to an end. I was sitting and drawing in my notebook. Why was Uchiha looking at me suspiciously? Damn, I accidentally drew the Uzumaki clan sign and the seal of the 8 elements. I hope Sasuke didn't understand anything. The bell rang, and he got up from his seat, collected his books, and left the classroom. At that time, I was trying to get out of the crowd of girls. God, why did they need me? I was already sick of these cries of Tadashi-kun. I got out of the crowd and went home. Before I could get home, the doorbell rang. Uchiha Sasuke was standing on the threshold. End POV Tadashi. Hello, Tadashi waved his hand at the stunned Uchiha. What are you doing here? The brunette swore, grabbing the owner of the apartment by the collar of his shirt. I'm alive, Yataru mumbled. You're lying. This is Naruto's apartment. Let me go. Where is Naruto and what are you doing here? Sasuke asked in a demanding tone. I don't know any Naruto, and the apartment is mine. My grandmother and I live here, he gave it to us. Hokage-sama. Come in since you've come. Entering inside, Uchiha looked around. Everything was as usual. Sasuke was familiar with every corner of this apartment, but there were a few things that did not belong to the blonde. The kettle was boiling on the stove. Having poured the aromatic tea into cups, Tadashi sat down opposite the guest. His soft features were frowning. Biting his lip, the guy decided to start a conversation. And who is Naruto? My friend. She disappeared 3 months ago. This is her apartment. Yes, the Hokage told us that he was giving us the apartment while the owner was away. So you know where she is? Unfortunately, no, we were not told that. On the way home, Sasuke couldn't stop thinking about how these seals could be connected to Uzumaki. More precisely, how they were connected to Naruto. This guy was still not telling him something. And what exactly, he would definitely find out. "Where am I?" the dark-haired man asked, opening his heavy eyelids. "How are you feeling?" A girl entered the room. "My head hurts," the guy answered and winced. "Who are you? And who am I?" "Like who?" The girl was surprised. An oppressive silence fell over the room. Amnesia. Oddly enough, it seemed to be exactly like that. == 7. 3 years later. Team number 7 == 3 years later. Shinobi Academy. Assignments. "Hey, Sasuke-kun, do you think we'll end up on the same team?" the pink-haired girl babbled dreamily and smiled. "Don't even hope, big-headed one," the blue-eyed blonde said, sticking her tongue out at her friend. "Sasuke is my kun. You ino pork." Sakura began to move towards her friend threateningly. The failed fight was interrupted by the teacher Iruka-sensei, who entered the classroom. Approaching his desk, he placed a huge folder on the table and, turning to the class, smiled. "My dear students, today you are entering the life of a shinobi. On this path, you will experience victories and defeats. You are the future shinobi of the leaf, you are its future defenders, you are the new generation of our village, we are counting on you." Each student listened to the words of their now former teacher. No matter what kind of sensei Iruka was, the children loved him. Yumino replaced the father or older brother they never had. Despite his soft-heartedness, the students respected him and considered him a good shinobi. Many were happy that they graduated from the academy, some were still sad and remembered those happy and not so happy times, difficult training and practice and lessons. Only Sasuke Uchiha sat and looked at the blue clouds piercing past the window. Right now, he cared little. He didn't care who he was on the team with, as long as no one bothered him. A lot had changed in a few years. All the attention of the girls in the class had moved to Tadashi. Sasuke was very happy about this. You could say that Yataru had become his friend. Although Uchiha himself never said that he was grateful to him for his friendship, and there was no need. Tadashi himself knew this and understood that Sasuke would not say it just like that. The brunette was also grateful to him for his silence. "You must be the support of the village. After all, the will of fire lives in each of you. So, now I will announce the list of teams. Team number 1, Ai Yuzu, Toshiro Suzuki, Akaime Watabane. Your sensei is Miki Akiyama. Team number 2, Taji Hayashi, Chiyoko Nakamura, Sam Ryoko. Your sensei is Toru Kano. Team number 3, Hideko Murakami, Kaoru Sato, Minoru Kondo. Your sensei is Yumiko Taro. Team number 4, Fumiko Aoki, Yuki Miro, Takumi Hataru. Your sensei is Namiko Takiyazawa. Team number 5, Naoki Okamoto, Suzumi Nakano, Ito Suzuki. Your sensei is Hisagi Bastion. Team number 6, Atami Watabane, Ren Okumura, Arihawa Lillian. Your sensei is Shitomi Nero. Team number 7, Haruno Sakura. Everyone held their breath as they listened to the next team lineup. Tadashi Yataru. A loud hooray was heard from Sakura, and a heavy sigh was heard from the last desk. Apparently, the guy himself didn't like it very much. Sasuke Uchiha. Your sensei is Hatake Kakashi. Yes, yes, yes. I heard, pork, so what did you eat? Sticking her tongue out at her friend, Haruno sat down next to her new team. None of the guys were happy about it. Although everyone was glad to have their friend on the team. But Sakura. They'll have a hard time with this girl, of course. Sasuke wasn't interested in the rest of the teams. He turned his head and stared out the window again. But that's not how he imagined it. In his head, he saw pictures of himself and Naruto sitting at her house and celebrating her becoming a shinobi. He was sure that his friend would have given up right away. He imagined her happy smile and her green-blue eyes shining with happiness. But everything was not as colorful as in his dreams. Naruto still hadn't been found. What could have happened to her and why is no one even saying anything about her? Sakura. She was completely different. Not so cheerful, sweet, sociable. In a word, she is not Uzumaki. The blonde could rightfully be considered Uchiha's best friend. It was she who pulled him out of the abyss of despair and unnecessary revenge. Made him better and decorated his life with herself. The brunette always compared his friend to a warm and bright sun. And that hair. Pink. How that color irritated him. As if a liter of paint had been poured on her head, it looked so unnatural, so disgusting. And the same disgusting voice and caustic words Sasuke-kun. The guy was brought out of his thoughts by the voice of Irika, sensei. I have to go. Wait for your teachers here. Taking the folder from the table, he left. After 2 hours, all the students left. Team number 7 remained in the classroom. Where is he? Sakura darted from one corner to another. Sakura, calm down, he'll be here soon. Tadashi said, smiling, sitting next to Uchiha. How do you know? Sakura asked, pausing for a moment. I know. Unnoticed by the others, symbols began to creep into the seal on Yataru's hand. A couple of minutes later, as the guy said, the coach of team number 7 appeared in the office. Hello, I am the captain of team number 7, the man who entered introduced himself. You're late. Haruno shouted, waving her arms in all directions. I got lost on the road of life. The Jonin began to justify himself to his charges. You're lying. It's a bit hot here, let's go out somewhere. Let's go to the park. Hataki suggested, and without waiting for the genin, he headed towards the exit. The boys walked to the park in silence. Occasionally they glanced at the strange shinobi in the gray mask. Having settled himself more comfortably on the bench, Kakashi glanced at his future students. So let's get acquainted. Introduce yourself, tell us about your dreams, goals, and so on. Sensei, maybe you're first? Yataru said with a grin. Okay. Kakashi Hataki, Jonin of the Hidden Leaf, you don't need to know the rest. Hey, that's not fair, the pink-haired girl exclaimed. Sakura, everything is according to the laws of shinobi. Yes. Now you go, the copyist pointed towards the Uchiha. Sasuke Uchiha. Genin of Konoha. In the future, I want to restore my clan and find one person dear to me. After these words, Uchiha lowered his eyes. Next, Hataki nodded towards the other genin. You're not at all what I imagined Sasuke Uchiha to be, let's see what you're hiding. A bright glow scorched the sky. The sun was hiding behind the horizon. A dark-haired guy was walking along a wide and empty street. He took off the headband with the image of a leaf from his forehead and squeezed it in his hand. Raising his head up, Uchiha looked at the fading sky. And now they could be together with Uzumaki and celebrate this. You wanted this so much, Sasuke whispered, squeezing the bandage tighter in his hand as he walked away into the darkness of the night. Naruto. == 8. Here we are. Part 1. == The bright sun illuminated the Hidden Leaf village with its early rays. The unbearable heat gave no rest to the residents. There were few people on the streets, but despite this, the ringing voices of small children playing in the street could be heard. Newly minted genin were studying with their sensei, and ordinary residents were starting to open their shops. The only team that wasn't in the best mood was team number 7. The captain, who was supposed to arrive early, was currently 2 hours late, and Sakura had disappeared somewhere. There were two 13-year-old teenagers at the third training ground. One of them was wearing a black shirt with a high collar that reached his chin, as well as white shorts and elbow pads. A kunai bag was attached to his right leg. The bandages on his left arm and legs were decorated with a black ribbon. On his back was an Uchiha clan fan that fanned the fire. The second was blonde with bright blue eyes. He was wearing a light blue t-shirt with a small collar and white trim on the sleeves. He had blue jonin gloves, but without the metal plate and a leaf protector on his forehead. He had black sandals and white shorts on his feet. He had a kunai pouch on his left leg. After a while, the only girl on the team appeared on the training ground. The out-of-breath Kunoichi stopped next to Tadashi, who was watching her closely. Excuse me, please. I'm late. Ino and I went shopping. that's how it all happened. It's okay, Sakura, Kakashi-sensei isn't here yet anyway. Thank God. Hello, Sasuke, Tadashi. Hello, Sakura. Uchiha measured Haruno with a slightly interested look. It suits you, Sakura. Having taken a better look at the girl, Yataru nodded approvingly. Thank you, Tadashi-kun. The girl's cheeks turned pink. Yes, very good, agreed the Uchiha, who had been silent until that moment. There was something to praise the girl for. Her current image made the girl look more like a kunoichi than before. Now, instead of a long red tunic and short green shorts, the girl was wearing gray shorts that reached her knees and a maroon blouse with short sleeves and a zipper in the middle. Under the blouse was a dark turtleneck. On her hands were black gloves. And the Konoha protector was now on her forehead. The girl's hairstyle had also changed. Instead of long hair, she now had a neatly trimmed ladder. Sakura's long-standing and one-sided love for Sasuke is long gone. The days when Haruno would wake up thinking about the younger Uchiha are over. The Sasuke-kun, that was so annoying to the guy himself, disappeared from her vocabulary. Now Sakura was more attracted to the independent, unattached, and very handsome, according to the same Sakura, Tadashi. But now Haruno decided to act differently in order to attract the attention of her now teammate, and not just one of her best friends after Sasuke. Yes, Sasuke, just like Tadashi, became the kunoichi's best friend. Although she tried to please Yataru, she still decided not to bother the guy with her love, which is why she kept to the side. But still, Tadashi was a guy, and the feminine charms of the cunning girl sometimes worked on him too. And they knew how to get the almost always silent and gloomy Uchiha to talk. This is what made them best friends. Sasuke could be stirred up either by grueling training or by gatherings with friends at his home. Still, the memories of his former girlfriend did not want to leave the brunette, and his brother was declared dead on a mission, which hurt the young guy no end. Now, from his entire family, he had Tadashi and Sakura left, as well as Uzumaki. Nothing was known about the latter either, but there was still hope for the best. Sasuke still hadn't figured out his feelings for all the years since losing his girlfriend. Uzumaki was like a sister to him. But sometimes there were moments in his life connected with the blonde beauty that made the last Uchiha blush. Sakura was and remains just a friend to him and nothing more. But he didn't want to argue with the green-eyed girl either. But still, only a couple of years later, these two, who were always there, became the most irreplaceable people for him. They always supported him and didn't let him fall into depression. Sakura, who was the initiator of something interesting, and Tadashi, who supported the mood of his friends. If someone needed to be cheered up or made to laugh, then it was Yataru who you had to turn to. Hey guys, what do you think the test will be? Tadashi asked with interest, sitting on one of the pillars located on the training ground. Haruno nodded her head ambiguously. Most likely, for teamwork. Uchiha stated confidently. Most likely, yes, Haruno confirmed his guess. Well, we don't have any problems with that, right, guys? Certainly. Then we have a plan. Uchiha said conspiratorially, looking at his teammates. Yeah. Half an hour later, the careless sensei finally showed up. As always, he had Ika in his hands. Hataki had only let go of this book a couple of times. And then, most likely, when he was training or going to bed. Sensei, you're late, Tadashi said in an emotionless voice, which didn't escape Kakashi's hearing. And Sakura looked different today. There were too many coincidences and oddities today, Hataki noticed. These guys were up to something, he realized it right away, but what it was still needed to be found out, right? A black cat crossed my path, I had to go around, Hataki answered, shaking his silver hair. Well. This time Sakura decided to tease the negligent teacher. Okay. Taking a huge alarm clock out of his backpack, Kakashi placed it on the stump next to which he stood. You will have to take these bells from me before lunch. There are 2 bells, and there are 3 of you. So someone is going to the academy? Sakura said, not letting the sensei finish. Yes. You don't have much time. Just 2 hours. Let's go. The copyist said, giving the signal after which everyone disappeared. Because of the sudden start, everyone scattered to different places. which definitely made it difficult for the 7th team to carry out their already prepared plan. Kakashi's POV. I must have forgotten something. Oh well. Later. Later all the time. And now to Itharaku. Arriving at Ramanea, I noticed Guy sitting with his team. Hi, Guy. 2 portions, please. Here. The old man placed his order in front of Kakashi. Hello, Kakashi. How are you? Let's fight. Mighty shouted, standing in a stance. His students, sitting nearby, looked at each other nervously. Lee wished his sensei luck, jumping around him. At this time I was calmly finishing my ramen. Guy is such a guy. He is always like this. Kakashi, my eternal rival. Fight me. My friend and rival, as he had already managed to say eternal, continued to yell something. But after the question asked, I felt uneasy. Kakashi, where is your team? After that, I, almost choking on ramen, rushed to the training ground, where my students were already waiting for me. Something is wrong here. Having realized this, I looked around, noticing that the kunoichi was wearing a completely different costume than yesterday. And it definitely suits her. So you're thinking about the wrong thing, Kakashi. Kakashi-sensei, you're late, Tadashi said, looking at me with an angry look, as I understood it. Well, yeah. A black cat crossed my path. Phew, he got out of it. Well. Having explained the rules, I hid underground and began to wait for further actions from the genins. I don't think it will be that easy to deal with them. == 9. Here we are, part 2. == A village on the border of the land of fire. Midnight. He doesn't remember anything. What should we do now? The girl in the light green kimono exclaimed. Crystal tears dripped from her eyes, obscuring the view with a cloudy white veil. The dark-haired young man standing next to her couldn't look at her any longer. His heart was constricting more and more, trying to incinerate itself. He understood that his friend's condition was terrible. The girl shuddered when she felt strong male hands on her shoulders. Look at me, the brunette said in a gentle voice, stroking her cheek. The look of his cloudy blue eyes was drowning in the scarlet flame of her interlocutor's gaze. The girl suddenly began to lose consciousness. The guy picked her up and headed into another room. He laid the precious burden on the bed and left. I promise that everything will be fine, were the last words the girl heard, finally passing out. The dark-haired man approached the bed, where an 18-year-old boy lay restlessly. His dark, long strands of hair were scattered across the pillow, his eyelids trembled slightly, but his face showed no emotion. His porcelain skin seemed even paler in the light of the bright moon. Don't worry, friend. We will always be with you. She is still waiting for you, Itachi. After these seemingly long-awaited words, the young man's face smoothed out, his eyelashes stopped fluttering, and after a while his breathing became even. She will always wait. After these words, he retired to the next room. The boys hid in the nearby bushes. So, let's act according to the plan, Sasuke said with confidence in his eyes and headed to his position. Yes, said the guys and began to carry out their plan. Kakashi, sitting underground, was reading a book and did not immediately realize that the ground was beginning to slip away from under his feet. At the last moment, jumping out from under the ground, he saw Tadashi raising his leg again to strike. What a monstrous power! Immediately flashed through his mind. At that moment, Hatake remembered Tsunade's fighting style. But how could Tadashi know it if Tsunade had never returned to the village after the death of her brother and lover? And Jiraiya-sama had also never appeared in the entire 13 years. Lost in thought, Team 7's sensei missed an attack of several shurikens, but using a substitute, he dodged at the very last moment. Appearing a few meters away from where the log with shuriken stuck into it lay, the man looked around. POV Hatake Kakashi. Okay, we need to find them. Tadashi stands in front of him, grinning insolently. Oh, I don't like these guys. Sakura is sitting in a tree, waiting for something. So, where are you, Uchiha? Sasuke, where is he? Suddenly the voice of the younger Uchiha was heard. Element of fire. Fire Phoenix. After releasing several small fireballs, Uchiha jumped to the side. Dodging, I crashed into some invisible barrier. Could it really be? End POV Hataki Kakashi. Hataki was not allowed to finish his thought by an unexpected attack from Haruno. The girl got involved in close combat with the sensei, and it must be said that the level of her taijutsu was not inferior to the Uchiha. These kids are full of surprises. But as soon as Hataki started to lift the bandana from his eye, he felt a strong push to his right side. Not expecting such a blow, he flew back several meters, crashing into a tree. But still, the son of the White Fang is an elite jonin, and therefore this attack did not cause any damage at first glance. But, as he began to rise, he heard the crunch of his bones. Most likely, 1 or 2 ribs were broken. Realizing that the matter was serious, the man decided to go on the offensive, but after taking one step, he stepped on the paper. It looked like an explosive seal. But the symbols were applied in a completely different way and more skillfully. A few ninjutsu master had tried. What the flashed through the copy ninja's mind as he realized he couldn't move. Unexpectedly, Sakura threw a kunai, cutting off the bells in the process. Sasuke, who had picked them up, threw one to Sakura and one to Tadashi. A few minutes later, the alarm went off. The test was completed. Tadashi-kun, let go of sensei, the pink-haired kunoichi asked, already standing next to the new object of her love. Good, he said, making several seals, and added, seal of paralysis. Removal. Several symbols came out of the seal under the foot of the copyist and broke into many pieces. Sensei, are we through? Yes. But I have a few questions for you. How did you manage to trap me? Well, sensei, if you had waited for your teacher for half a day, you would have surely come up with a plan. I see. You are completely different, not like Hiruzen-sama described you. Sakura, you are quite strong in taijutsu. I'm trying, sensei. The girl answered, laughing cheerfully. Now let's go to the barbecue restaurant. Yataru said. Everyone followed him. Sensei, you pay. The boy shouted at last, disappearing with his comrades around the corner. What restless children. Hataki thought as he put his book in his kunai bag.